Hello and welcome to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. I'm so glad that you're here. My name is Peter Abraham. I am a hospice and palliative care registered nurse walking down the path of being an end-of-life doula, sometimes known as a death doula, sometimes known as a life transition coach. In this channel, we talk about death and dying. We talk about anticipatory grief and grieving. I am also an avid book author, so there are discussions about writing books, whether it be for hospice and palliative care, holistic nursing, end-of-life doulas, caregiving, and related topics to all of those, helping those who are chronically ill, facing a potential terminal illness, or just heading down that direction. If this is something that interests you, please consider subscribing and hitting the bell notification so that you get alerted when there are new videos. I try to publish videos at least Wednesdays and Fridays, Mondays if I'm able to, 2 to 3 times a week. And if you like what you're seeing, please click on the like button. It does help the YouTube algorithm and helps this channel. Today's topic is for my fellow hospice nurses. I'm going to be going over chapter 2 in an existing book, Mastering, and let me just flip this screen around, Mastering Hospice Eligibility. So that particular book is endorsed by a number of hospice professionals, a number of agencies. That's part of their guide. My opinion, I am biased, it replaces the hospice quick flips from 2015, 2016 that only deals with the LCDs, the local coverage determinants, where my book, yes, goes over all of the LCDs, including what's current as of 2024, but it also goes over those cases of how do you admit somebody when they don't have an LCD? They have sepsis, they have a broken hip, they have a broken femur. What if there's not an LCD? How do you present that to the hospice medical director when your nursing gut is telling you they have 6 months or less to live? And that's the benefit of this book. It gives you the tools to have that conversation with the medical director and get that admission so that patient receives proper hospice care. And yes, I'll toot my own horn that in March of next year, I'll be presenting as a keynote speaker for a South Carolina hospice and palliative care organization that's looking at interdisciplinary communication as how hospice nurses can present this to medical directors and how we should interact from an interdisciplinary point of view. That's the whole point of one of the points of hospice is that we are an interdisciplinary team. And so that's going to be today's topic. But before we go on to that topic, I do want to talk about a key area that I believe is very critical for all of us, especially in this field, all end-of-life professionals. Something I encourage all my listeners and viewers to do is ask the question, what are you grateful for? What are you grateful for? I believe when you talk about matters of faith, forgiveness, and gratitude, we're building resilience. So when those storms in life happen, we can bounce back and we can deal with these sensitive and critical topics without fear, without losing everything, and we can bounce back and be there for the people that we need to be there for. So as we talk about what are you grateful for, let me go over what I am grateful for. So I am grateful for all of you who are buying and reading my books. I am grateful for out of privacy's sake, I don't want to name this person's name, but this past weekend, this gets into what I'm grateful for. I had a hospice executive reach out with a lot of questions on publishing, getting their first manuscript published. So I'm offering them, I'm giving them links for a variety of free resources. I'm answering their questions. This is freely answering. I appreciate being out there and helping people as I'm able. And he ends up asking the question, how much would I charge to proofread this book and get it ready for publication? I've never done that before. I told them, how about this? How about I keep track of my time? I do the work, and then when we're done, I tell them how much time it took. And I was willing to offer this like as a like you tell me what it's worth based on this amount of time. And yes, to play safe, I had okay in Kentucky, if I'm doing this type of work, this is what I'm charging per hour. I had that at the back of my head. And I could see where he was coming from because that could be a scary proposition because what if I came back and it's 20 hours or 30 hours or 40? Um, I wouldn't want to be on the receiving end depending on what the hourly rate is. So he came back and he wanted something that was more finite. And this is fine. There are no negatives in this story. And he said he's been told it was ranged from this price to that price. Could I give him a fixed price? So I didn't go down the middle route. I went to the lower end of the scale, much to my wife's dismay. I love my wife dearly. And I told him that's the amount. And here's who to make the check out, Compassion Crossing LLC. I'll do this under the LLC umbrella. If you need me to sign any NDAs, any assurances, send over the paperwork. And here's where I'm getting in terms of grateful. So in terms of trying to make sure I'm on the right track, anyone watching these videos, I love being transparent as much as possible. So I did a video, much like you're going to see in terms of the overview of chapter 2. I did a video, it was just under 11 minutes. So I know those of you are laughing. Peter, you doing a short video. It was just slightly under 11 minutes where I was walking through my thought process. I had his document opened up in Word. I was, showing him what I was doing in part, just a portion of chapter 1 of the book. And I sent that to him and different updates. And he came back this early. I shouldn't say early. It was just before noon. I was getting ready to leave to see a hospice companion volunteer visit. And he goes, you put so much effort into it, I'm going to actually increase the amount. I'm not discussing what amounts are. But like, that's a blessing. Because as I'm sharing with him and communicating with him what I'm doing, I'm stressing this doesn't change what I quoted you. Because that's what I quoted. And that's what my word is my bond. So I live by that. And today I ended up sending him, I sent him the ebook the other day. Here's the paperback version. And while it didn't have the book blurb, here's the paperback cover and the ebook cover. And this is what Amazon wants for each. And so I'm thrilled that he's thrilled. That's what I'm grateful for. I don't know where this will lead because I was talking to another, one of my fellow male nurses today, where I'm trying to encourage. Yes, you got a book. You're doing good. If you're watching this, you know who you are. You're outlining your chapters. I am rooting for you, and you don't have to use me at all. I publish free on Amazon. But if this is a direction God's having me go, I'll take the journey. Um, and where I'm going to end before we go into the video and we talk about, I know some of my viewers don't like faith issues. I'm going to keep this hopefully less than 2 minutes. But I normally block off every Monday. This is my author time from 8 to about to 8 a.m. to about 2 p.m. And then I start getting ready for my Monday class with the International Dual Life Movement. But this family said, could I, go there this coming Monday and be there for 3 hours? And I'm learning how people talk in Kentucky. Can you come for a couple hours? What does a couple hours mean? Well, I got to run errands, do banking, and a couple other things. Can you come for a couple hours? Can you tell me how many? Like, are we talking 8? Like, I didn't say 8. We're talking 2 or 3. Oh, 3. Okay, fine. I could live with 3. But the moral of that is go with the direction you feel you're being led. For me, this is a God thing. For you, it might be a heart thing. Don't be afraid to go in a direction. And I share that with fear. I've been told by so many people, Peter, you fit the autism spectrum. I strongly believe I'm neurodivergent. Um, I just see too much, read too much, where I don't have an official diagnosis, but I strongly believe I'm high functioning autistic. What does that mean in the long run? I don't know. But here, I'm afraid to be a companion volunteer for a home patient. I'm still going. I went today to meet the family. I don't smoke. I'm allergic to smoke. The guy smokes. I'm still going on Monday. Uh, when I say I'm not holding my breath, I'm not meaning from a pun, but I'm going to walk in the direction God has doors opening up. I'm probably going to fall and fail in certain areas, but to the degree that God allows me to get up, I'm going to get up and go again. And I share that to you not to say, look at what Peter's doing. I share that for those of you, my fellow nurses, end of life professionals, other people watching. Life can be scary. Doing things new and getting out of your comfort zone can be scary. But go anyway. Life is too short to live in a box. Life is too short to live in a box. So before I go on much further, I'm going to show you this video clip, and then there will be a very short outro. And thank you. This is for my fellow hospice registered nurses, specifically those who do admissions. I've done book overviews before, but those were books where they were in process of being written versus already published. What you're seeing is from, and let me just turn this here, Mastering Hospice Eligibility. So this is already available. It's been endorsed by a number of hospice professionals, including medical directors. And so I thought I'd just go through a section that I think is extremely critical for any one of you who are doing admissions. So some fine print, some housekeeping. LPNs are nurses, RNs are nurses, but at this point in time for admissions, RN is the only class that would do an admission. We're not talking about advanced practice nurses in this particular instance, just hospice registered nurses. And I do believe that as part of every single admission, to the degree that you're able to interview the patient if they're cognitively able to respond, the primary caregiver that spends preferably 8 hours or more with the patient on a very regular basis, as well as family members, that these questions along with your physical assessment, the vitals and everything else, become the framework for the foundation of this admission and where this is going. And I believe that by the end of the admission, especially if you do the interviewing questions correctly, granted, my opinion, my experience only, you'll be able to do a draft prognosis that may be a moving target. So let's begin. We have the questions I believe that should be a part of every admission. And in terms of me, this is me. If I'm going to see the patient for the very first time, could be the post-admission visit, could be, Peter, you're suddenly in charge of this patient as the case manager. I will go through these same questions as if I was admitting them, even if the admission's already done, because it helps solidify a lot of, for any of you who have been doing hospice for any length of time, you know that everybody documents a little bit differently. And the picture that you obtained from reading somebody else's notes might be different than if you were the one writing the notes. So that's why I say, for me, if I'm laying eyes on them for the first time, I'm going to try to go through these questions. If the admitting nurse did a wonderful job, I may not go through the entire set, so to speak, but I'm still going to go there to a degree. So start off with, what does hospice mean to you? I love educating. I love seeing what is the response. And just, I will go down some rabbit trails. Today, I was meeting with a family I was going to be the hospice volunteer companion. In fact, I'm going to be there next week to be the companion volunteer. And I noticed something that from a medical perspective was wrong. And they were asking, what can I do? And I said, even though, I'm a volunteer, our body works a lot with gravity, and that tubing that you have going on there, it's going to cause issues. Let's use gravity to our advantage. So find out what hospice means to them. This really goes into the part of, I find that you educate properly, you improve patient outcomes, you reduce revocations, you reduce those 911 calls. All of that starts with the admission visit. What led you to consider hospice? Oops, sorry, I'm used to Word for the scroll bar for when we go down. What has been the experience for decreased physical activity? Any significant changes in patient cognitive ability? For that particular question, it's generally a good idea to have the caregiver or family. What about the impact of the comorbid conditions? That's here. Can you tell me more about the patient's diabetes, heart disease, etc.? Just giving ideas. Let's look from the 91 to 180 days. And let me go back. I apologize. Oh my, sorry. Did you consider, okay, sorry about that. I should have done Word, but we're in a PDF file. All of this is relevant in terms of building out the why hospice, why now. That should be a part of every hospice admission narrative. Why hospice, why now? I'm glad I came back, because when I saw we were going out too far, I like going, what have the last 2 weeks been like? Part of the reason why, if they're looking at me and what I need you, if you're the admitting nurse, I need you to be hyper-focused on the body language of the person you're asking the questions to. And if there are other caregivers or family members in the room, extend that focus outward so it's encompassing them as much as possible. The more you do this, it will get easier. The reason being, the reason it is so important, is if in the last 2 weeks, before you're there, it was a whirlwind for them, and you explore that whirlwind, that it was a rapid decline, sudden changes, several times a week, maybe every day, you're already getting information that the patient may be on the short end. They may have a 2 week or less prognosis. So I start asking, what was the last 2 weeks like? And we go through. Then I'm starting to go backwards from there. Last 30 days, last 60 days, last 90 days. Tell me about the hospitalizations. So a lot of EMR systems will have a hospitalization risk profile. So that's where you're trying, I'm taking notes. So yes, we have our tablets or our laptops, but I'm the old-fashioned person that I'm using my clipboard. Now granted, I don't have my brain sheet in here, but in here I'd have my brain sheet, and I'm taking notes and I'm flipping pages as necessary, because these details matter. I know almost everyone is under heavy caseloads. I so much appreciate Shelley and Adam Henry from the Amity Group. Shelley was doing a recent video going over that we should not be cutting visit frequencies when we have high caseloads. We should be working with management to get manageable caseloads and appropriate staffing, but we don't change visit frequencies just to adjust high caseloads. I know as I say that, you're probably going to go, what else am I going to do? And you should be advocating for yourself. You should be saying, no, I can't take that additional case, and so on and so forth. That'll be time for another video. Always feel free to comment in the comments below. But we're looking at, have they had multiple hospitalizations? Tell me more. Every time, and you might be saying, Peter, this is going to take forever. It might take an hour and a half to 2 hours for a good admission. But a good admission leads to better outcomes for everybody. Take the time. Yes, this is my approach. This is how I would do it if I'm an admitting nurse. I'm going to be asking these questions, and for every time they say something, I'm watching body language, and I'm prepared to say, tell me more. Please give me more details. Can you elaborate on that? Including when you're talking caregiver burnout, because you should be assessing for that on admission as well. How did that make you feel? Tell me more. Dig deeper. Then we're getting into decrease in tolerance to physical activity, cognitive decline. We're looking at comorbid conditions. So it's 2 weeks, 30, 60, 90 days. Then we're going out to 6 months. That's the 180-day look. So 90 days, 3 months, 180-day, 6 months. And this is helping you craft what brought them on to hospice. What was the urgency? Then you should be doing a draft prognosis. The reason to do a draft prognosis, part of your admission visit, is going to be how often should the case manager come? That may be you. How often should the aides come? As you're doing these other assessments for caregiver burnout and so on, how often should the social worker and the chaplain come? Well, part of that picture is the draft prognosis. If you're seeing a frequency of change of, every 4 to 8 weeks something's going on that's negative, moderate to major, they have less than 6 months to live. They're most likely appropriate to hospice. Yes, you're going to be looking at LCDs and other factors. If they're having changes every 3 to 4 weeks, these are moderate to major changes. We're probably in the less than 3 month window. If they're having changes, one change every 1 to 2 weeks, we're probably 2 months. Once a week, we're probably less than a month. Several times a week, less than 2 weeks. Several times a day, less than 72 hours. Every minute to every hour, there's a negative change. Now, these are draft. I'm not God. You're not God. This is a draft prognosis. And then here, what if you have, like outside the case of a coma, that's discussed in chapter 4, what if we don't have enough data points? Well, then what I would do is I'm asking, how much are they sleeping and napping? You combine both numbers. That gives you another idea for a prognosis. As I'm listening, as I'm asking questions for the patient, the caregiver, and the family members, I'm listening for trigger words. They're sleeping all day. That's at least 20 hours a day or more. Significant decrease in fluid and food intake. Significant changes in consciousness, lethargy, disorientation, episodes of becoming non-responsive. Changes in breathing. Changes in breathing is the most significant observable change that you could teach your family members to watch out for, your caregivers. Picking at things that are not present. Speaking to or about departed loved ones. Saying goodbye. Changes in skin color, temperature, pain and discomfort. When I go in, I've had cases where I'm subbing for another nurse. I still remember the one that was, oh my word, I can't remember the nursing home. It was in York, PA. It was a religion-based nursing home. And won't you know, when the time I get done visiting, I'll remember the name. But I go to the visit and I hear from the staff, sudden onset, can't even touch, like not even this type of finger touch, light touch, hurts all over. I'm assessing that they're transitioning. We need to go daily visits. Sudden onset symptoms we've mentioned pain and discomfort here. All of these sudden onset matter. Dusky ashen complexion, hyperventilating, typically above 24 breaths a minute. Multiple falls within 72 hours is extremely telling. My fellow hospice nurses, we've all been there where we're getting calls to go to facilities, especially the skilled ones. Why do we have to go? I am sick and tired of going. They're nurses. Why am I going? And that's a valid question. And sometimes it's frustrating to go because don't we have enough visits? We already talked about caseloads. If they're happening frequently, especially in 72 hours or less, and depending on your patient, I'd even go out as far as a full 5-day week, they might be having terminal restlessness. Keep an eye on. You may have to adjust visit frequencies. I'm going to stop here, even though there is more to this chapter, because it does go about the elephant in the room, about a case study that I participated in, where it's not a fast 7A. We have to talk admissions. But these are questions that you should be asking every admission visit. Yes, my opinion, I do believe this to be best practice. This is from the book, let me turn this around, Mastering Hospice Eligibility. It is endorsed by a number of hospice professionals, including medical directors. I do thank you, and there will be an outro. Thank you so much for your time watching those interview questions from, and let me just flip the screen so you can see the book cover the right way, Mastering Hospice Eligibility. I will put in a link below that is currently available on Amazon.com. And Nursing Week of this year, I did reduce all my nursing books, whether they're holistic nursing books, the hospice books. They're all at reduced prices. I did not go back up and increase the price even after Nursing Week is over. I don't know. This is not a threat. I'm not saying buy now if the price is going up next week. But right now, this is being filmed June of 2025. It's at a reduced price since Nursing Week. If you have any questions, this is a non-judgmental channel. Ask in the comments below. If you want me to have a different discussion for Friday's video, hit me up in the comments, or future videos, hit me up in the comments, and I'll see what I can do. I don't know it all, but I like sharing what I know and where I'm going with things. Before I go too far, we're almost done. First week of July, I'm going to be in Richmond, Kentucky, as part of Compassion Crossing, giving a community presentation to a healthcare association to train their caregivers, 2 different 1-hour sessions. So I'm looking forward to that. And so making progress with that. I am looking at what book number 6 is going to be in the Bridges to Eternity series. I'm wavering between care plans for end-of-life professionals. This is not going to be like the nursing care plan where you have your problem statement, your implementation. It's a whole 9 yards. I'm trying to come up with an easier method for non-medical support professionals. So this is not going to be like anything that's previously published. My fellow IDLM students, this is not going to be like the care plan template that we got in the classroom. That mirrors more like the nursing care plan templates. So this is going to be a different approach. So I don't know if I'm going to go down that route or the green burials. If I go down the green burial route, I've already been doing research, gathering lots of materials. I will be incorporating green burials, end-of-life rituals, and after-body care with caution for what death doulas can and cannot do in order to stay on the good side of funeral home directors, depending on the state that you live. If you want me to go down, Peter, write this book versus that book, now's the time to comment before I start writing. I may wait until a week or 2 before I start writing the next book, just for a break for things. Plus, I'm getting into the companion volunteering. Thank you so much for watching. Take care. Bye, and God.